Okay, Amy Mass. So, debut novel is coming out. When is it? When is the date?
May 12th, which is my
It
sister's
is May
birthday.
12th. Okay. It's your
My
birthday?
sister's birthday. But my
Oh,
birthday is May 20th and my dad's is May 14th. So it's a big week for us and our family.
that is a big week.
Uh,
So often, like if I'm helping someone publish their book, they'll say, I want to come out on exactly this specific date because it's sentimental for
uh-huh.
some reason. And with self-publishing, that's not always easy to control for a variety of reasons I won't get into. But how fun that it worked out that way. Because you don't have a lot of control. You're with Harper Perennial,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
So you don't have a lot of, you have like no control really over pub date. But I saw in your bio, which was so fun. This got me immediately. I mean, after, of course, the introduction from the fabulous Jordan Roeder, whom I adore to the
Big
moon and
fan.
back and cannot go wrong. So you are into aerial yoga.
Huh. Yeah.
Uh,
So during COVID, we moved from Los Angeles to a very small town outside of Atlanta. We're like in rural Georgia. And it's been the best move for our family. My kid went from
do
being
you have a
like,
cow?
no, but I can see horses from my backyard.
Okay,
And
okay.
there's an organic farm and there's a farmer's market and there's a general store. It's so adorable. We drive golf carts around. It's like, if you're familiar with LA, it's like the Ojai of Atlanta.
Okay.
And we have within our neighborhood, we have a yoga studio. We have cute little coffee shops where I go to write. But it's been great because I can just walk and go, do aerial yoga and walk and go to a coffee shop and write and walk to the general store and do wine tasting.
See, I'm in love with this. Now, you had me at air. I haven't done aerial yoga. I fear that I would become the plot line or like the viral, like the wrong viral. It would, but I'm really intrigued by it. So now I feel like this is a nudge.
You should definitely try it. It's so fun,
Should I try it?
and it's
Okay.
also it's not my instructor uses the term "skited," which I think was like a Glennon Doyle thing, where if you're scared but excited, you should still try something. And so
Skited.
if
Okay.
you're
I didn't get that at
skited,
first. Now I got it.
you
You're
can you
skited.
should go for it.
I agree. So speaking of being scared but excited about something, book writing. Okay. So
Yeah.
you said, and here's the thing I love. I loved a lot of things. Here's a thing I loved about your bio is I could get to know you. So authors sometimes are like, what do I put in my bio? Does it have to be very sterile? And like, I got my MFA here, which most of us don't have. Some people, not me, but some people have an MFA, and that's wonderful and amazing. I love it when authors reveal a little bit about themselves, like, I hate olives and things like that. So we've got your Ariel. Now you did lose me in your bio with your penchant for dressing up in character for trivia night.
Uh-huh. So again,
Okay.
in our small neighborhood,
Mhm.
we've got mahjong night, we've got trivia night, we've open mic night. And for a while, for trivia night, I thought it would be very entertaining that we would, for our team name, it would always be on theme. So if it was, let's get quizzical, then we would dress like Olivia Newton-John in like workout gear from the 80s.
This is
One
too much.
time we did, I'm trying to think back to some of our best hits. Oh, we did Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And we dressed up like Ruth Bader I mean, so we had that going for several months in which we would pick a team name, pick a costume, and we were winning. And then it just got to be too much. I was like, "This is not sustainable. I flew too close to the sun."
This is not That's what I was thinking. You flew too close to the sun on this one. Like,
Uh-huh.
this is not sustainable. There are only so many, but I challenge you to keep coming up with them. I think that's really
We might have to
joyful.
we'll have to do a comeback, I think.
I think so. I think so. Now, so you also noted in your bio this is like your third writing career, which I think is very funny because you did TV writing, which does not surprise me at all. After, so what was the Goldbergs? You've
And
worked on a couple
Last
different
Man
things.
Standing. I've worked
Last
on
Man
several shows,
Standing
but those were the 2 that are usually the most recognizable.
among and which is fun because whenever I have talked, and I've talked to several now people who have worked on, TV writing rooms,
Uh-huh.
they mention the one or ones that are most memorable to the audience, like, "Oh, you've probably heard of this," and inevitably, there are far more that never made it or had 1 season or 1 episode, so this idea of, "Oh my gosh, you got so lucky as to be" people are like, "No, this was, like, year 13 or whatever that I got," and every
Yeah.
once in a while, they had a lucky see the air quote, "lucky break" early on, but Reality Bites is this novel, which is I'm really excited about. I happen to be a big reality TV lover. Are you?
Well, it's funny. I started off hating reality TV. And I think it was because I was a sitcom writer and we were constantly in competition for audience and viewership with reality TV. So here we are in
Okay.
the writer's room, working till like midnight, trying to come up with characters and plots and storylines and jokes and working so hard. And then you would see scantily clad, beautiful people drink alcohol and make out, and they would get 10 times the viewership we did.
Right.
So, I think for me, it was a jealousy thing, and I was like, "Oh, I refuse to watch reality TV." Then I met my husband, and he was a huge reality TV fan. He watched his favorite's Big Brother, but he also watched
See, I never got into that. I was gonna ask, what was your first introduction? Was that your first intro into reality TV?
he made me watch Big Brother. He was also into Survivor, Amazing Race, and then he also watched Bachelor
Cool.
and Bachelorette. And this was, like, before,
Mhm.
like, all the Love Islands and all those. So I said, "Okay, if you want me to watch these shows, let's make it interesting. We're gonna turn it into a game for
Of
me."
course you did. Were there
Um,
costumes or
no
what went on here?
costumes, but we did start a fantasy league with our friend group. So for Bachelor and Bachelorette, we would draft players. At one point, I think there was like 10 of us or 12 of us playing. We would draft players. And I made up a very complicated scoring matrix on how you would get points. Like if they made out, it was 5 points. If they went to like the suite alone, that was 10 points.
Yeah.
If you made it out of a 2-on-1 date, you got points. Like everything had points.
Wow.
So
Okay.
then I was into it. Then I realized that
Mhm.
in a way, these characters were people that I could root for. Not only was I rooting for my team to win, but it got me to root for these people as characters on
Them.
the show.
Yeah. So is that where the concept came from? Like, is that when did you start thinking, I wonder if I could do something with this and think of it in book form instead of sitcom form? Is
Yeah, I think for me, and I think a lot of us watching reality TV, we're always like, what would it be like if I were the one on this show? Like a normal
I've
person.
never thought that once.
Really? I'm always like,
No, I actually take that back. Sometimes lately I'm into Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. That's like the one franchise that I can't let go of. The others I've not watched all of the franchises. Some of them I watched and then I let go of. Beverly Hills and Orange County, I just can't let go. Anyway, the current, which is just about finished of Beverly Hills, I don't season 762. I'm really invested, but I don't want to be on as a housewife. I wanna be on as like a, "What is happening?"
like a
Like,
man on the street commentator.
kind of like a commentator slash unlicensed therapist slash, like but anyway, so I could continue with as you were.
Well, so yeah, but for me, I was like, what if a normal person went on one of these dating shows? Like, I don't know how to mug for cameras. I don't even know how to stand. Like, I remember standing with like some of my actress friends for pictures, and you can tell they're all actors because they're all posed, and I'm just like, I'm making funny faces and looking ridiculous. So I'm like, how would someone like me be on a show where you have to have this way you portray yourself and in order to make it to the next round you have to pretend to like this person. I'm like, what are the odds you're even going to like this person, right? And then I love a fish out of water story. And so I was thinking, like, who would be the person that would be the least likely to be on one of these shows? And I'm a big Allie Hazelwood fan, and I love that she writes about women in STEM. And I just think, and once I left LA, where a lot of my friends are in the industry, I live outside of Atlanta now, and my friends have all different types of jobs. So I have two friends who are scientists. And I'm like, tell me
Okay.
more. What's it like being a scientist? And I just thought it'd be so cool if there was this girl who was so focused on her career and she was so driven and in the world of science that she was a little bit tone deaf about social media and reality TV. Like she's never watched it. She's not online. She's in her lane and that stuff doesn't interest her. And then I also had to tie in is a little bit of a love-hate story for LA for me because I lived in LA for 20 years. As much as I love LA, there's things I don't love about it. So I also had to give her a little bit of a snarkiness about LA and especially like dating in LA and the guys that are available for her to date. Oh, I pulled that in as well.
Okay, because I can't even imagine that. So what was your process like as far as, okay, I've got this idea, right? And now how do I bring in all these layers? Are you a quick drafter, a planner, a plantser,
Yeah.
plotter? I
I
can't even speak.
both. I'm a pantser and a plotter.
Okay.
And I think coming from film and
How
TV,
can you be you're a pantser and a plotter.
yes, I'm both.
So you're a plantser.
Yeah, I'm exactly, you're right,
Yeah.
pantser. Coming from TV and film, I always go dialogue first, which a lot of people don't do. A lot of people either come with their characters, their plot. For me, I hear the characters. I probably shouldn't admit that I'm hearing voices in my head, but I hear the dialogue. And so it usually starts with just like a funny scene that pops into my head. So for this, it was what happens when she walks out onto set for the very first time and she's wearing the Speedo that she swims laps with at the Y. And they're like, cut. They're like, what are you wearing? Is that like a religious garment? You know what? And so that was just like the first scene that kind of popped into my head. And then I'll just kind of go in the flow state in a Word doc, just write scenes and dialogue, just whatever kind of comes to my head, just to kind of get that out there. And then that's how I get to know who the characters are. Then I'll take a step back, figure out who the characters are, figure out where the story's going. And then I will do an outline, a very loose outline. But as I'm outlining, I'm still adding dialogue, I'm adding jokes. Like it's just as it comes to my mind, I'm putting it all down.
So is that also how you work when you're writing for TV? Is it kind of like a hub out approach,
Well,
like a
I think
central?
it's a little different when I'm in the writer's room and we're breaking the
Mhm.
story together, you know, because you already
Okay.
have your established characters. You're breaking the story, the episode of the week. So then it's like a little bit different of a process. But yeah, for this, and I joke that I'm a notes hoarder and a jokes hoarder, where any idea that I have to write down and save because I never know if I'm gonna come
So
back
where
to
do
it or
you do
not.
that?
Everywhere. I
Oh,
have it, like, written on random scraps of paper around my house. I have Post-it notes. I have note stocks on my phone. I've got voice memos. I've literally driven and texted myself, like, told Siri to text myself an idea.
yes.
And then on my laptop, I don't know about you, but I have a million Word docs, and one will be, like, character ideas. Like, I'll meet someone at the grocery store, and I'm like, "That's a good character," you know? And I just type them up. Or I have, like, joke scraps and I just like think of something funny and I just save it. So a lot of that is part of the
We are the
process
same
too.
person.
You're walking
Okay,
your
we are the
dog, you're
same
like
person.
writing a note on your phone.
It's a serious, like, I've told my kids if they're in the car, if I have a kid in the car with me, I'm like, Text me something." If they're not in the car with me, I'm like, "Siri, send me a reminder." And then,
Sure.
and it's just they're everywhere. So how long did it take you then to get the first, what we'll call, rough draft? Everyone has a different definition of, like, what a first draft is,
Right.
so
Um I it was surprisingly fast and I think it's because I went from writing other people's content for so long, working in other people's TV shows, that when I finally kind of took a break from the industry, moved during COVID, worked at coffee shops, was writing my own stuff. Within 4 years, I wrote 3 books and 2 movies, and I think it was just because I could just sit and write what I wanted to write, and it just kind of flowed out of me. So, it was a fast process of writing the rough draft, but again, I was writing other things at the same time. I was writing movies, I did an animated movie treatment, you know, I had other projects that I actually was getting paid for,
okay.
besides this. Yeah, it was surprisingly fast. I don't know if it'll always be like this or if it was just the
Mhm.
initial, "I can do what I want," and, you know, the excitement of that.
Interesting, because I'm curious, like, I'll say for myself, I think one of my big I'm working on a novel now, one of my big, issues, we'll just call it an issue, is that I forget that this doesn't have to be the only thing. And so I really, like, I hold it very tight, and it's like I shoot for that perfect thing, which I talk about all the time, doesn't exist, and I have to remind myself that. And so it's harder for me to just kind of sit down and let it all come out because I'm overthinking. I'm also thinking as an editor because I am an editor. So that's happening. And I'm curious. I'm not even curious. I'm fascinated and I'm encouraged that you were able to just, what happened to the other two? You mentioned other
Yeah.
books.
So I went on submission. My first book got me my literary. So I had, film and TV agents and managers, but I got my literary agent with my first book that I wrote. We went on submission. I had interest, but ultimately didn't sell it. We decided to shelve it. Then we went out with the second book I wrote, which is Reality Bites.
There it is.
And then this third book is what I'm going to be using as my option. So when this is done and I can submit my option to Harper, that is what we'll be using for that. So yeah, I think for me, being able to write different things at once is a benefit because, like you're saying, when I like doing the first vomit draft where I just like get it all out there and it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not an editor, so I'm just kind of like just get it out there. And I think coming from TV where there's so many drafts and so many changes and everyone's weighing in and you have to get notes from the studio and the network and other writers, like I'm not precious about anything. And so I just get it all out there so I at least know the structure of what I'm doing. And then I'll go back and I'll edit. And a lot of times it's helpful for me to once I have it done, I almost, like, don't wanna read it right away because I know it's gonna suck, but it's okay. I have to trust the process. I know it's gonna suck. I step away, I go work on something else for a while, and then when I come back, it's fresh. I forget sometimes. I'm like, "Oh, that part was actually kinda funny. I forgot I wrote that." And then I can go through it and start editing it, and it does take many times through to edit.
So, what was your full timeline on this one specifically, from feeling like, well, let me ask it this way. Did you get to a point where you thought, okay, I feel like this is ready to go to my agent?
Yes, I did, and then
Okay.
my agent gave me notes, which I
Okay.
thought were really helpful, and it was so funny because they were the most cliche TV writer notes, like, it's what you would expect a TV writer to get. She said, "There's parts where it's too funny, and it seems like she's using comedy as a crutch," and I was like, "Don't we all?" You know? She's
Right.
like she's like, "How about there's more feelings?" And I was like, "Ooh, okay." So I literally had to do a feelings pass because I
Boy.
realized my character is like me and does use comedy as a crutch. So I had
Mhm.
to the parts where she's kind of being snarky and jokey, I had to look at those and she's still very snarky and jokey throughout the book, but I had to figure out, okay, where are the emotional places I can dig deeper? Because, in a 26-minute episode of TV, you don't have room to dig into the emotions and, wax poetic on how someone's feeling. So that was an interesting change for me.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
when my editor bought it, she had some really great notes and she encouraged me to so in my book there it's ultimately her character arc is learning to not be so judgy in a way. Like she comes from a family of poor man's Kardashians. Everyone in her family is an internet influencer. So she's the black sheep because she has a PhD. So she judges her family unfairly in the beginning. When she first goes on the show, she judges the other contestants. And then she finally gets to a point where she's like, maybe I am here to make friends.
Okay, let me ask you this. You mentioned the option,
Mhm.
and some people listening might not understand what that is in the traditional world. Would you explain that?
Sure. So in my contract, Harper Perennial. So Harper Perennial is an imprint of Harper Collins. It's their paperback imprint. They are the ones that bought Reality Bites. And per my contract, they basically get first dibs on my next book. So that's the option. So I will send them my next book first, and they have, I think, a month or so to read it and let me know. And if they don't want it, then I can go back out wide with it and try to sell it anywhere. But I've really
Got
enjoyed
it.
working with Harper, so I hope they
Did
buy
you?
it. Yeah. Oh, I now
I hope they
remember
buy.
now I remember what I was gonna say.
What was it? Go.
So, the notes from my editor,
Yes,
the reason
yes.
why I was
Okay.
explaining why Grace had a bit of a judginess to her, um, that was something that my editor noted. She was like, "I love Grace's humor, but she is a little too judgy." And I thought that was interesting because a difference between film and TV, where your characters can be flawed, especially in movies, your character always starts off flawed, and then by the end, they go through their journey. But what I've learned, especially in rom coms, the female main character has to be likable. So that was something I had to learn. So I had to make her less judgy and more likable. I mean, she's still lovingly makes fun of her family, and she's still has a hard time judging the book by its cover when she meets the contestants.
Mhm.
But that was a note. And then she also really wanted me to focus more on obviously the romance, which is one of the main thing in the story. And it started off, it wasn't quite fully enemies to lovers, but she pushed me more in that direction, which it's my favorite trope. So I was fine to go that way.
Really?
Uh, so yeah, so
Okay.
it was good getting, I felt I actually like getting notes, a lot of writers don't, but because again, I come from film and TV where you are always get notes, I feel like I'm used to it and I know how to sometimes find the note behind the note. And, so yeah, I love it. I'm like, "Hey, whatever's gonna make my writing better and make me look good, bring it."
That was like my pretty much my next question. I mean, assuming I remembered it, which was how do you feel about I think I was just talking about this last week with Jennifer Weaver, which her episode will go live tomorrow, which will be what's tomorrow, April 22nd. And we were talking about the kind of the notes process.
Mhm.
And do you enjoy it? Are you This was the question. Are you someone who enjoys the notes process and is, like, fascinated by what might be suggested? Or were you shocked because you thought I mean, of course, we all hope we're gonna turn our book in and it's gonna be like, "No notes. No notes. It's perfect." Never, ever does that happen, but sometimes people are really taken aback. They feel like there's so many notes and they get down on themselves. They think I wasn't supposed to do this, and that happens in every publishing paradigm, whether you're working with an editor at a house or you've hired an editor or whatever the case may be. And so what I hear you saying is you really enjoy it. I really enjoy it too. And how many times did that go back and forth for you?
Yeah, I think we went back and forth quite a few times because I think, and as an editor, I'm sure you relate to this, but you almost don't want to give people too many notes at once. It's like, okay, here's big picture notes. Now let's dial it into character notes. Now let's focus just on the relationship pass. And that makes it like the bite size of it makes it so much easier just to focus on something and keep going. And to your point, I do think if, I've been writing and getting notes since I was 21 years old. So I think, and I'm only like 28 now.
Say, I clearly that wasn't that long ago,
Yeah.
Amy.
Um, no, but after you are so used to it for your whole career, I think you finally get a tough skin. You know not to take it personally. You know that this person has your best interest in heart. You're a team. Like your editor wants your book to be as good as it can be so that you both it'll be successful for everyone. So yeah, I like getting notes. And here's the thing. You don't have to take every note. I mean, maybe if your editors, maybe I guess in different situations perhaps, but I feel like there's times you can push back or, you find the note behind the note. So if the note is, this character seems confused or, like I feel you can figure out if you don't want to change one line, you can figure out a way to rewrite it in a way that fits the note, but you keep what you want like about it.
Enjoying hearing from authors how there's this sense of like, well, can I push back on my editor? And I chatted with Lori Gold for the second time, who her new novel, Kiss, Mary Kill, is, I think it's just about to come out if it's not out already. At any rate, we talked about her process, and she had such a great tip or tips about how she works with her editors or her editor or her editors to say, okay, you want this to come out as here's an example. You want this scene to come out. I really want it to stay. And here's why.
Mhm.
So, how to fight for what you want to stay without being just like a diva about it, which I don't think many of us are trying to be a diva about it. We just feel connected to certain things. And so, if we can explain to our editor, and I certainly as an editor can resonate with if an I ask and I work with a lot of memoir and nonfiction writers. And so sometimes there will be pieces of the story that they've included. And my question is, why does this matter? And I'm not asking it to be judgy or to instigate a defensive posture. I'm asking literally, what, tell me more about why this matters. Because as it's written, I feel like you're just spilling details. I don't understand why this matters. And it helps. I think the same can be true about fiction. Why do we need this part of the story?
Yeah, and I agree. There was one note I got about Grace because she's a scientist. I had her use a lot of scientific metaphors and she made like science jokes and she kind of put everything through her lens of science. And my editor was like taking a bunch out. And finally I was like, is it a tonnage thing? Is it you don't like that she's doing this? Do you think she's too nerdy? And we just had a good conversation about it. And I realized we it was probably a tonnage thing. And she knows the reader and the demographic. And she knows, and you know, the joke being, she's like, your target audience is gonna be more like Grace's influencer family than Grace the
Right.
PhD biologist. And I was like, true. So we had a good conversation and she's like, "Hey, well, just pick your favorites and we'll keep the ones you like and we'll just take out a few." So it was a really good productive conversation.
Yeah, I love that, and I love when it's collaborative, which I think it is, frankly, more often than not.
Mhm.
There's a lot of sort of I don't wanna say it's a myth because I don't think it's a myth, but there's a big fear that if you're with a traditional house, your editors you just have no say, and I think you have less of a say certainly than if you're controlling the whole thing, but to say you don't have a say, and I don't know that I've ever talked to anyone, which I mean, it's not like I've talked to every author in the world, but I don't know that I've talked to anyone who says, "No, I they gave me no, they just made changes and I just had to deal with it." So,
Yeah, I haven't heard that
that's
either. But I also understand if you're a new writer or if you're younger and you haven't been through the trenches like we have. I understand that feeling of feeling like you have to just say yes to everything and you can't push back.
sure, sure. And I think it's just about how
Right.
you go about it,
Right.
not whether you push back, but
Right.
how you push
Yeah,
back.
as long as you're respectful and explain your reasoning and as long as you feel collaborative instead of combative.
There you go. Yeah, collaboration, not combativeness. What what am I trying to say?
Collaborative?
Collaborate, don't combat.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the new motto of my life, by the way. I could say that to people at the grocery store too. But, oh god. So, speaking of reality, so having been in this space in some capacity for so long, was there anything about the book publishing process specifically that surprised you that surprised you?
Yeah. Yes. I thought that once you are done writing a book, you're done. Because when write film and TV, there's huge
Mm,
marketing money and advertising budgets and entire departments full of people who are taking care of all that. And it's never been something I've had to do. So the self promoting and social media marketing of it has been a surprise. And also, it's a world I wasn't really in. I was on social media, but I had like a private account and it was mostly for like my friends and family to see pics of my kid.
yeah,
So learning that has been like definitely a challenge. There's a woman who lives in my neighborhood who's in her 20s. She went to film school and I was like, "Hey Alana, can you help me with social media? Can you teach me what TikTok is?" And she's like, "Sure." So she's been helping me a little bit here and there. She's like taught me how to use editing programs. Sometimes she comes and films my content with me, which is always more fun when you're doing it with someone else. Cause it's like
but yeah.
I'm fine. Like I wanna make fun of myself in a way, like, I don't want people to think that it's just me being serious, like, talking about myself. I want them to know that I'm in on the joke here, and it makes it so much easier if someone else is there
I think
making
you
fun
should
of me too.
swing aerial yoga while holding your book. I think that's
Okay,
like
alright, I should.
there's an idea.
Um, so yeah, so that's been,
Yeah,
a learning curve for sure. It's also very time consuming, especially because 'cause I'm only a couple weeks out, so, and by the way, like, there is a promotion department and, publicity, and they've been very helpful, and they've got me on, like, Goodreads giveaways, and I've been doing some interviews and different things, but, I think I'm so motivated and driven that I want the book to do well, that I'm just trying to hustle and do as much as I can for myself as well.
yeah, which I hear a lot.
Mhm.
No, I mean, authors are really invested in and I think thank God, I think that the myth that your publisher will do all of your publicity is slowly people are starting to that's not I God willing, in my lifetime, that will no longer be a common myth because we hear it so often now. I just think that when people are new, like brand new or newer to this space, there's an assumption that that's what's going on. And it does take a lot of time.
I mean,
I
even
mean, surprisingly.
the last couple weeks, I've been just trying to batch content and work like plan my launch parties and events. So I haven't even been writing and I miss it. It's like I feel like writing for me is what calms me down. It's my escape. It's almost like
Mm.
therapy. It's where my ADHD like hyper focus can go and I can just sit and write for hours. So I do miss that. So I'm hoping everyone keeps saying, "Are you so excited for your launch?" And the answer is yes, I am, but I'm also exhausted and ready for it to be done so then I can just go back to my hobbit hole and write.
To write. Just go back to our corner
Yep.
and just write.
Huh?
And people, I think people wanna do that, or what I hear is they wanna do that for a variety of reasons. Sometimes they're just more introverted and they just don't wanna be out on a more public stage. And now what I'm hearing from you is it's therapeutic for you to write. So you wanna return to that. It's your safe, happy place,
Yes, definitely.
which I get that.
And
I get both of those things.
I have learned actually through this process, I've learned about myself. I always thought I was an extrovert, and I am. I love meeting new people. I'm fascinated by meeting people. I think it's the writer brain, right? Where you're like, "Ooh, all these new characters," and I'm always like, "Tell me more about your life." Like I'm just fascinated by people and how people tick. And but what I realized when it comes to attention, I don't mind being in front of an audience when I'm like hosting an event or hosting a game or making it so other people are having fun. But when it's all about me and the attention's just on me, or I have to read something I wrote, like that makes me cringe. And I don't want that, if that makes sense. I figured out that distinction because I'm like, so for one of my book launch parties, instead of me reading from my book or talking my book, I'm hosting the newlywed game because and I'm having people from my community that I know or have been married. One couple has been married a year and a half, one's 15 years, one's 30 years, one's 53 years. Because since my show is based on a reality dating show, I was like, oh, this is
Mhm.
a fun way to tie it in. And I can be the face of it, but I can just do it in a way that orchestrates fun and comedy for everyone.
Great idea. That's a great idea. I also don't enjoy reading in front of people. I don't know, it feels weird.
Yeah.
Like, it feels awkward, and it's kind of to me, I think of it like being a comedian, and which I am absolutely not, where you would be on stage and you have these bits and you know where you're expecting laughter, and if it doesn't happen, I would be like,
I can't go on.
"Good
Yeah.
night."
Yeah. I'm done.
Like, "We're done. That's all." So the last question I ask people is, what are you reading now, or what have you read recently that you would say, "Get this book?"
Interesting. So
Mhm.
even though I say that I've been in my romance and romantasy era since COVID, so I mostly read rom-coms and romantasy. I'm in a romantasy book club. The book that we read recently, and I hope I get the title right, it's called Red City. Let me see if I wish I could think of the author's name off the top of my head,
I'll
but
look it up. I'll look it up.
menopause
Okay.
and ADHD.
Oh, yeah, I hear you.
So I've really enjoyed that. I'm also obviously, like I said, big Allie Hazelwood fan, Emily Henry fan, Lynn Painter, Sarah Hogle. I mean, like there's a million of my favorite rom-com authors. So it's kind of like for me, if I need that escapism, I go
Mhm.
to like the happily ever afters, the rom-coms, things are gonna end in a good place. So like when the world is feeling too overwhelming or too negative, it's like that's my escape.
I think I might, like, get into Hallmark movies now because that's how badly I need to know it's gonna end well.
Mhm.
Like, can we just on a farm
Yeah.
somewhere with a cute man and
Uh-huh.
a
I think that's why
cow?
rom-coms
Like,
are so popular.
yeah. Happily ever after, happy for now, whatever
Right.
right? Like, it's gonna end. Well, thank you so much for, your time, and I'm so excited to read this, and I wish you all the very best
Thank you.
with
Thank
it
you
coming
for
out. I
having
hope
me.
you'll come back when the second one
Ooh, I
comes
hope
out
so. Thank
because
you
'cause I'm
so
sure it
much,
will.
Elizabeth. This was a lot of fun. Thank you.